Hey guys, Zack here at etrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at a great way for making trailer maintenance a little bit easier, and that is the etrailer bearing protectors. These are going to be great on all kinds of different trailers, but especially marine trailers like we have here today. Now these are going to come in three sizes. They come in 1.78 inch, 1.98 like we have here today, and they also come in 2.32 inches as well. And that measurement is going to be the inner dimensions of your hub. The bearing protector is going to be a great solution for if you're looking for something that's quick and easy to add grease to your bearings. You know, you might be used to the old standard just cap that you would knock on there. This has a removable dust cap cover, but on the inside it has a nice grease zerk fitting on there that allows you to add grease to those bearings. And with this rubber fitting and that grease zerk, not only is this going to keep water out of our bearings, which would potentially lead to rust and pitting and just kind of tearing up all the components on there, whether it's the bearings or the races or the spindle. All that stuff is going to lead to problems down the road. This allows us to maintain proper grease with that grease zerk, but it also keeps all that stuff out. So it's a great solution for increasing the life of all of our trailer parts. When it comes to putting grease in this, we don't recommend using an automatic grease gun. Use a manual grease gun, because it's going to reduce that possibility of blowing out that back seal by overpressurizing it. When it comes to boat trailers, I think this is where they really excel, because they're going to do a good job of keeping water out, and that's going to allow us to fully submerge these tires. Something to keep in mind is as you're traveling to the lake or the river, all that stuff's going to heat up, so things are going to expand, and if you put that right in the water right away while it's still hot, it's going to shrink really fast. It could potentially allow some water to get in there. So hopefully you've got marine grease on there that's going to keep all the rust and corrosion at bay. But allow your stuff to kind of cool down. Unplug your wiring. You don't have to rush right in. But if you do that, it's going to do a decent job of eliminating the possibility of water seeping in because it was too hot and got too cold too fast. We focus a lot on boat trailers today because we have it on a boat trailer. But it's just as important to keep water and dust and dirt out of all your other types of trailers, and these are going to be just as effective for those as well. Another thing to keep in mind is these only come in a pair of two, so if you have a tandem axle like we have here today, you're going to want to pick up a second set. We offer a lot of different types of bearing protectors, and most of them are going to be pretty similar, but one that really stands out to me is from Bearing Buddy. It's a little bit more of an upgraded option, but for me, I think it's important to know how much grease you have in there. You don't want to have too little, you don't want to have too much. It's definitely important to not have too much because you'll be leaking out the back in there. And Bearing Buddy makes one that has a little gauge on it that allows you to know how much grease you have in there. So once you kind of get it to move that color on there, it allows you to know that you have just the right amount of grease, which is very important on these trailers. Now while you're putting these on, it's a good idea to repack those bearings. Check all the other components to make sure you haven't had any kind of damage, whether you got water in there or you had some grease leak out. There is potential for some damage, and you can always replace that stuff. We have a lot of different options here at eTrailer. But now that we've gone over some features, let's show you how we got these installed. The first thing we need to do is we're going to take these old Easy Lubes off. So I'm going to take a screwdriver and pry this cap out of here. This is going to be messy, so I would definitely wear some gloves. You can see we're going to also get this cleaned up a little bit, but I'm going to take a hammer and get that knocked out of place. So I'm just going to wipe all this old grease off, get that cleaned up, and then we can get our new one put in place. Something I want to point out is these grooves right here. These aren't threads. This design is to allow us to know when this is seated all the way. Now, even though these have a grease zerk on there, it's okay for this one to go over that because it's so deep right here. So we can get our bearing protector installed. We're just going to get that lined up. And I'm just going to gently use a soft blow hammer to just kind of get it in place. I used my dead blow to get this started. I didn't want to use metal on metal there, so now to get it driven in the rest of the way, I'm going to use a wood block, and then I can just drive that in. You want to make sure that this is sitting as even as possible because This is such a tight fit, and if you get it off center just a little bit, you could potentially damage it, but I don't think you're going to get it to sit in there right and create a nice seal. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to get some grease in there, and I'm using a marine grade grease today. You can pick that up here at eTrailer, and this is the nice thing about this setup is it has that grease zerk on there, so it makes it really easy to get grease in there. But with this being a boat trailer, it's very important to use marine grease. So we're just going to keep applying a little bit of grease at a time in there. You can see I had a little bit come out there, so I have a little bit too much in there. So I'm going to stop. That's not intended to let me know I have just the right amount of grease. That's actually there to allow some pressure to escape. As the grease heats up whenever it's traveling down the road, it's going to expand. And instead of blowing that back seal out, that's going to allow some pressure to escape. But since this is fresh and just a little bit came out, it lets me know that it's just right. That grease still needs to settle in. So after I've taken the trailer out for a trip or two, I'm going to come back, check it, put a little bit more in because it will settle in place. But then we should be good for a couple trips. All I need to do is put that dust cap on. That's going to provide some protection against dirt and moisture getting in there. I need to put it on the rest of my trailer. It's a tandem axle, so I need to pick up another kit. But overall, I think this is a really nice, cost-effective way to make it quick and easy to re-grease our hubs. And I think it's going to be a pretty solid setup for you. But that's going to do it for a look at the eTrailer bearing protectors.